ceasefire if they're going to put troops on the ground. Back to you.
Thank you very much, David Lee Miller. So what's Iran up to? Are they as big of a threat as some experts say? Let's go to our experts. Former ambassador to Iraq, Ed Peck, former Congressman John LeBoutelier, and Mideast scholar and Iranian expert Ghazal Omid. Thank you all for joining us today. We'll start with you, Mr. LeBoutelier. You were saying, well, of course they want to talk. They want to buy time.
They want to buy time because they intend to get nuclear weapons as fast as possible. I think we all have to face the facts. They looked at our invasion next door 3.5 years ago of Iraq, and they saw that Saddam could not deter that invasion. And there's been talk ever since then that we would then attack Iran. So what do you think the Iranian government's going to do? Get into the nuclear club as quickly as possible. Once you're in the club, you're treated totally differently.
Ambassador Peck, would you agree with that?
Well, I don't agree with all of it. I think it's very interesting that he used the phrase invasion of Iraq. It was a liberation, of course, in its early days. But we have made it very clear that our objective is to change all the regimes in that part of the world, not just Iran. We talk about, the Congress has appropriated money to finance groups active in Iran which have their objective changing the regime. Now, if anybody did that to us, we would consider it an act of war. And so, certainly they do.
And Mr. Ambassador, so are you saying that you don't blame the Iranians for trying to get a nuke?
Well, no, I think trying to get a nuke is something that a lot of people are interested in doing, especially if they feel themselves threatened by people who have nuclear weapons.
You don't think they would use it for offensive purposes?
They might. I don't speak for them.
Of course.
My interest is, of course, what's good for the United States. But notice in the discussions that we've just heard that we're not talking to them. Switzerland is going to talk to them for us. Now, I don't think that's going to work. If you got a problem with somebody and you don't talk to them yourself, you're not taking best advantage of the opportunities to reduce or remove the problem.
Well, but of course, on the other side, the theory being that if you talk to them, they say one thing and do another. And let's bring in Ghazal Omid. You're an Iranian expert. What do you think about this whole thing? They want to engage in serious negotiations. Do you think they're trying to buy time, or do you think they legitimately want to talk?
No, they don't want to talk. They want to buy time. That's absolutely true. And somebody needs to tell Tehran either is a yes or no policy. There's no button maybe in here, because they already given the packages, they have given the time, and they're just trying to buy time with you. And if you take a look at yesterday's Khamenei's press conference, or whatever you can call it, his speech, he's the man in charge, and he made it very clear that we're not going to accept the package. We're going to pursue with our nuclear. So they are essentially playing with the United States and UN and everybody in between. And somebody needs to tell them this yo-yo policy of yours is not going to take you anywhere. And we need to start actions, or we need to stop you.
John?
Well, I was just going to add a couple things. Number one, I think that we've completely mishandled how we conduct foreign policy for quite a while in this country. The way to deal with people like the Tehran government is to talk tough in private. That all this loud talk that we've taken to in this country only makes things worse. You do the tough talk in private, where you can really unload and talk back and forth and make a deal. To do it publicly locks everybody into political positions. That's the number one. Number two, the rule of Teddy Roosevelt really did apply. Speak softly, carry a big stick. Instead, we speak too loudly, and we've weakened our stick by fighting so long in Iraq that our military is weak today. And as a country, we're too weak to threaten strongly anything in Iran.
Ambassador, what do you think?
Well, I agree totally that the idea is that you say what you want to say to a person, to your neighbors, to a foreign country in private, and you can speak very bluntly there. But you do not do it in public. That just gets people's backs up when you accuse them of this and label them as that.
You really think we don't talk to these folks in private?
We're not talking to the Iranians at all. And this is one of the things. We're not talking to Syria. We're not talking to Iran. Mike, for 50 years, the Soviet Union had 10,000 nuclear warheads aimed at us. We talked to them. We contained them. We made deals. Now, we better wake up. The Muslim world is going to get these weapons. One way or the other, they're going to get them, and we're going to have a policy to deal with them.
Ghazal, what would the President Ahmadinejad listen to anyway? We are talking to him. What's going to make him perk up and listen?
No, they think that you're talking at them. As the two other guests of yours mentioned, this is really important that we see each other eye to eye, and we don't really do that right now. We need private talks directly with the United States and Iranians, and I think that's a necessity that hasn't been explored yet.
Ambassador Ed Peck, Ghazal, thank you very much. And Mr. Le Boutelier, thank you. Always good to see you. Up next, authorities overseas charge 11 British Muslims with plotting to blow U.S.-bound jetliners right out of the sky, as you remember. Bomb-making equipment, there were suicide notes, martyrdom videos, one woman willing to sacrifice her baby. We're going to take